This is the Transform with Travel podcast. I'm Kelly Tolliday, your host, and I'm so happy you're here with me today. After having traveled to 45 countries and living across 4 different continents, it's my mission to inspire you to live life to its fullest, travel with an open mind and heart, and let the world show you a new perspective. Here at the pod, we believe that travel has the power to transform your life. So we bring on everyday adventurers to share their stories, as well as industry experts to help you optimize and enhance your travels, transforming us from tourists to travelers with each and every episode. So buckle up, because we are about to take off. Are you overwhelmed with all of the travel advice out there when it comes to travel? Are you stuck in analysis paralysis because you just don't want to get it wrong? It seems like everyone is a travel expert these days, and you can't go on social media for a minute without scrolling past the next do this, don't do that, or the 3 things you need to see in Florence, or you did it wrong. I know that I fall victim to this a lot, where I see a lot of posts about a destination I'm going to, and then I save it down, and then I get really overwhelmed that I need to see it all. And man, I just wish sometimes I can put the blinders on, like back in the day when we would travel without social media and travel without having these super connected smartphones. What did we used to do back in the day without having all of this advice thrown at us all the time? Earlier this year, I asked my guest, what advice would you give to an aspiring explorer? And one of my favorite answers I ever received came from Gabby Arbisu, which is in episode 37. And she said, don't listen to anyone else's advice. And man, I was like, that is so powerful, because we often get caught up in what everyone else is saying, not just family and friends, but also influencers and travel experts. And this is what today's episode is all about. I'm going to share with you the common travel advice that's given these days that you just shouldn't take. You should take it with a grain of salt, do your own research, or just allow things to unfold the way that they're going to. So, we're going to get into the top 7 most common pieces of travel advice, which you might not want to take in 2025. So, buckle up. Let's get started. All right. Number 1, don't be a tourist. Right? We hear that all the time. Don't be a tourist, be a traveler. And I even say this in my intro, transforming us from tourists to travelers. I'm more coming at it from a mindset perspective, whereas this particular piece of advice, don't be a tourist, is usually talking about locations, destinations, activities. Listen, there's a reason why Santorini, Mykonos, Rome, London, Bangkok, Peru and the Machu Picchu, there's a reason why these places are so popular. They're either like just stunning, naturally beautiful, they have a lot of culture. There's a reason why they're beautiful and why they're hotspots, and that's okay. If your dream is to go to Santorini, don't let the shame of being a quote unquote tourist prevent you from fulfilling your dream. But perhaps you go to Santorini for 2 or 3 days, and then you go to a lesser visited island like Serifos or Milos for more days. So you still get to tick off that bucket list because it's a dream of yours, but then you're also getting to experience a lesser visited island, bringing your economic dollar to these lesser visited islands and helping, just being more aware of that over tourism that is happening in these hotspots, and doing your part to choose reputable places to stay, excursions, that type of thing. Go be a tourist, go explore, see the destinations you want to see, and then perhaps there's a way to combine being able to go to these lesser visited places that are nearby to the hotspot that you want to go to. And again, I know that I say in my intro, and I talk about a lot, transforming us from tourists to travelers, and that's a mindset. You can still have a traveler's mindset and go to Santorini in a really mindful, intentional way. Number 2, travel in off seasons. We hear this all the time, travel in shoulder seasons, and I even say this in my episodes as well. So trust me, I'm learning as we go. However, I often hear, like, when you have kids in school, you can only travel during the times that they're allowed to, for summer, for spring break, for winter break, and that's okay. So if you can only travel during those peak seasons, that's okay. Go travel when you can travel. Do your best to maybe do things in a slightly different way. Maybe you take a couple days before spring break starts, and then that gives you a little bit more time. Or maybe there's a public holiday in October and you take advantage of that and you go travel in those off seasons there. What we are seeing in places like Italy and other really top visited places around the world is that there's really no off season right now. We're seeing the entire year is just as crowded. So travel in off seasons if you can, but don't let the fact that you can't travel in an off season if you have kids or because of work, don't let that stop you from traveling either way. And perhaps if you have to travel in peak season, then you do visit a place that isn't so popular. Maybe you do decide to visit, okay, I'm going to go to a lesser visited place because I can only travel in the summer and I don't feel like dealing with crowds or being a part of the over tourism issue. So there's a way to still be really mindful and really intentional, even if you have to travel during those peak travel seasons. Okay, number three, travel insurance is a scam. You don't need it. I wish no one has ever in a million years gave that piece of advice because the amount of times that I have met a traveler who got themselves into a situation, whether it's a motorbike accident or they got dengue fever or they had a flight delay and they missed a hotel, a stay at a hotel. Like it could be something as minor as that too. They wished that they had a travel insurance policy then. So it's one of those things where, yeah, you hope you don't need it. I really, really hope you don't need to use your travel insurance policy. However, it's so recommended to have in those moments where life happens. Life happens whether you're at home or whether you're on the road. And you want to make sure that you have the support of a travel insurance policy in case something happens medically, in case something happens logistically. It's important to have. I highly always recommend all of our retreats, our group tours, every single travel advising client that I have. I make sure that I say over and over again, do you have a travel insurance policy in place? Especially when they're going to places where perhaps there's more hiking involved or they're in a more like remote destination. So using partners like Arch Rome Right Travel Insurance, who's a partner of the podcast and a friend of the pod, using partners and insurance providers like that to be able to make sure that no matter what happens while you're on the road, you have the peace of mind. Number four, you can book it yourself. You don't need a travel advisor. Now, I may be a little biased because I am a travel advisor and I have been planning my own travel my entire life. I've done a year's worth of travel at a time. I never used a travel advisor. However, it is so worth it, especially if you don't have the time, if you don't have the experience in knowing how to plan, especially like a multi-week, multi-generational trip or a multi-destination trip. If you're going to a destination like New Zealand and you're camper vanning, or you're going to Thailand for the first time, you want to make sure that you're working with somebody who really knows that destination, who's able to bring it to life for you without you having to scroll for hours and hours and hours on a booking.com or a TripAdvisor trying to find the right one. It's just so worth it, especially if you're low on time, which we all are, to be able to bring it to life with somebody who knows what they're doing. They potentially be able to have perks involved like free massages or breakfast included or free night stay sometimes. Working with a travel advisor is a way to make sure that your trip is as seamless as it can be. Of course, it's travel and things will happen because that's the world of travel. But working with a travel advisor even helps you when things do go awry, you have somebody in your corner who's able to talk to the tour excursion operator, get a hold of the flight, get a hold of the hotel. They're able to do that for you. So it's a travel advisor is there for you for the good moments and the high highs, but they're also there for you in the low lows. And you have someone in your corner in the industry that has contacts with the right people. So it's just something to consider. I know we're in an age of DIY and you're online and you can do everything yourself. But just because you can do it doesn't mean you have to. And all of that time that's spent planning that trip, unless you really, really love to plan travel yourself, then you should be a travel advisor. But it's all of that time that you're spending planning that trip could be used in more creative ways to go to the gym and get healthy for your trip or make more money to be able to spend on your trip. Like there's so much more valuable things that you could be doing with your time than planning a trip for a destination that you have zero idea about and you're spending a lot of time planning and you don't even know if it's going to have a positive ROI for your life. We'll get back to the show in just a moment. At the end of every episode, I always ask my guests what their favorite must have travel item is. And I want to take a quick moment to share with you one of mine, a travel companion that's just as essential as your passport: Arch Rome Right Travel Insurance. Whether you're exploring the vineyards of Italy or trekking through the Andes, travel is thrilling and transformative. But sometimes unexpected events can put a pause on our plans. That's where Arch Rome Right steps in. With a focus on specialized travel insurance solutions, they're here to assist you in navigating those unforeseen travel hiccups. I once was stuck in the middle of an island in Indonesia during a massive earthquake, and we lost personal belongings, 3 months worth of accommodation, and we racked up expenses with last minute flights and hotels. I only wish I knew about Arch Rome Right travel insurance back then. From trip cancellations and medical emergencies to lost luggage and delays, Arch Rome offers insurance plans that cover what matters most, and most importantly, gives you peace of mind. Each plan is backed by Arch Insurance's strong financial ratings and a team dedicated to exceptional customer service, recognized for their expertise and responsiveness. But what truly sets Arch Rome apart? Their innovative approach combines state of the art technology with real human experiences, providing you with transparent and swift service. Join the millions who trust Arch Rome and make your next trip a little smoother. Head to the show notes to find and use my personal affiliate link to get a quote today. Thanks to Arch Rome for supporting our show. So, last year, my entire family went to Greece to celebrate my parents' 60th birthdays. We were so excited to explore this beautiful country together, but we had no idea where to start when it came to planning. With hundreds of islands to choose from, we knew we needed to work with an expert to ensure it would be the trip of a lifetime, catering to every family member's needs. That's where EO Retreats came in. Working with Katrina, founder of EO Retreats, was an absolute dream, and she made our big, fat Greek family holiday a huge success. EO Retreats is a boutique retreat and travel company specializing in creating one-of-a-kind retreats and custom travel itineraries that will allow you to transform when you travel and be left with memories that will last a lifetime, which we love here at the podcast. Katrina was on the podcast last year where she dove into her story of moving to Greece and embracing the slow living culture. Check out episode 6 to learn more about her move to Greece, and her company EO Retreats. She's inspired people from around the world to make a change in their lives, and she's launching her new course, How to Move to Greece, to help support you in your dreams of moving to Greece as well. Whether you're looking to travel, retreat, or move to Greece, EO Retreats has you covered. Head to eoretreats.com, that's EYIA retreats.com, and learn more about their upcoming group travel and retreats to Greece, their customized itineraries, as well as their new course, How to Move to Greece. So, cruising is not real travel. Okay. I grew up going on cruises. My dad's client used to be Royal Caribbean, so we used to go on a lot of cruises. And then as I got older and I started backpacking, I had this little chip on my shoulder like, "Oh, cruising isn't real travel though. You're only on the destination for 4 or 5 hours and then you gotta get back on the trip, and, it's like Disneyland on the sea." And I feel like now that I've settled into, dare I say, a more mature attitude, I guess, cruising is an excellent way to get from one place to the next, especially if you're going to destinations like the Mediterranean, if you're going through the Caribbean, if you're on a river cruise going through Europe. There are so many amazing cruise lines out there now, especially in the luxury space, high-end luxury cruising, and small room counts as well on the boats, with a high emphasis on cultural engagement and learning. It is such a great way. If you are not an experienced traveler, if you don't feel like trying to figure out how to get from one island to the next when you're in Greece, cruising is a great way to kind of dip your toe in the water of, okay, I really liked Paros and I really liked Milos. And now I know that if I were to go back to Greece, I want to spend more time perhaps on land on those islands. And it's just a really great way to kind of dip your toe in the water of those destinations or that area of the world. It really is getting bigger as well with expedition travel. So let's say like the Galapagos, cruising through the Galapagos. And when I say cruising, sometimes that just means 50 rooms. Sometimes it means 10 rooms. cruising to Antarctica, cruising through parts of Asia. Like it's definitely getting a lot more high end, a lot more luxury, and it is definitely real travel. So don't make anyone make you feel bad if you want to take a cruise or you just want to have one of those vacations where you turn your brain off, you get on the ship and everything is covered for you. Kind of the same with all inclusives as well. There are plenty of times in your life where your intention on your trip is to completely shut your brain off and just completely relax. And an all inclusive is a great option. And there's so many, again, just like cruising, there are so many amazing options out there with all inclusives that are sustainably minded, that have great food, that have great service. So it's just a matter of digging a little bit deeper, maybe working with a travel advisor who's able to help you find those more maybe like smaller family owned or smaller luxury all inclusives and cruises. So don't let anyone make you feel bad for wanting to travel the way that you are. Number 6 is that group travel or tours only take you to touristy places. And as a group travel retreat facilitator, leader, manager, I could not agree with that less. We take such great care in the tours, in the excursions, in the people, the local people that we bring into our team. Every single touch point along the way is handcrafted, and the amount of research that goes into the trips that we bring in, whether that's personal research of experience or we have a local provider on the ground helping us. You sometimes going on group tours and going on retreats sometimes can bring you even more authentic experiences than if you were to do it yourself without all the hassle of planning it yourself. There's ways to do group travel if you're really interested in, let's say, photography or hiking or scuba diving, or there's fitness retreats, there's yoga retreats, there's a retreat for every hobby. And I think sometimes that's a really great way of blending your travel as well, blending your passions together. It can be a really great way to get you out into the world. And then the last one, number 7, Instagram versus reality, right? So using Instagram as a source of inspiration is a piece of advice that I hear a lot. Instagram, TikTok, people are saving a lot of destinations down, a lot of travel advice down, which is great. It can be a really great source of inspiration, but I highly recommend not placing your entire itinerary in the hands of a influencer or content creator. I mean, we've all heard the phrase Instagram versus reality, and in the world of travel, this could not be more true. And oftentimes, what we see on Instagram is highly, highly curated. And sometimes it's even paid by the venue or the destination by a tourism board to look more authentic and less touristy than it actually is. And again, I'm using that word touristy, but here you can imagine like funneling tourists in for the sole purpose of kind of exploiting that experience or even exploiting the local people. And when I was in Siem Reap in Cambodia, I got up before dawn to see the sunrise at Angkor Wat. And it's because I had seen tons of photos online of the sun rising above the ancient temple system. And I needed to get that picture because I was travel blogging and I was like, I need the picture. And I knew I wanted to witness this from an experiential level, but I think I was definitely more driven by being able to post something on Instagram or on my blog. And it really could have been truly a once in a lifetime experience, but there were literally hundreds of other travelers there with more cameras, selfie sticks, drones. It literally felt like a zoo, and it definitely did not feel like an authentic, like spiritual travel experience that it could have been, or perhaps that it was maybe 10 years prior. And I think because I was driven by the picture rather than by the experience, I was deeply disappointed that I didn't get what I wanted to get. It was cloudy. The sunrise didn't come up very well. I was fighting with hundreds of other people to kind of like get to the front to get the picture. And if I just would have let it be experience based rather than social media based, I think I could have accepted that experience a lot more. I had another lackluster experience at the Nine Arch Bridge in Sri Lanka in Ella. And it's because I saw a really cool drone shot on Instagram. And at the time, I was really trying to build my Instagram, trying to build my blog. And had to get dropped off by this taxi. We basically like slid down this mountain to get to this bridge. We got there and I was like, what? I mean, it's cool, but unless you had a really like high quality drone at the time, like there's really no picture that you could get while on the bridge that looks cool. And again, it was social media driven.
not experience driven. Would I have gone to that bridge to experience the bridge? Probably not. I went specifically for a picture and it totally let me down. It was a half day of us trying to like climb our way out of the mountain. So I learned a lot. I promised after those couple experiences to never allow Instagram to dictate where I go. I can use it for inspiration, but I'm not going to specifically go somewhere for a specific picture. You need to really ask yourself, why do you actually want to visit a certain destination or have a specific experience? Do you truly want to experience this place, or is it solely for the picture? Is it to create this narrative for the cyber identity that you've built for yourself? Are we actually experiencing it, or are we only looking at it through the lens of social media? And if a destination or a place is popular specifically because of a photo opportunity, I'm thinking of, I can't remember the name of it, but it's in Nusa Penida in Bali, or sorry, in Indonesia. And people flock to this destination for this specific picture, looking down at the headlands, and it has totally like terrorized this natural environment. It's completely destroyed now. I think it's a sign when we're going places specifically for pictures that this particular place, it's either going to be a tourist trap or it's being exploited for social media purposes by humans, by us. And it's likely not as protected as it needs to be from a natural environment perspective. Use Instagram for inspiration. Don't use it for a itinerary builder, specifically for photo opportunities. This will prevent you from being disappointed when a destination doesn't live up to the filters that have been applied to it on social media. And it will help you also avoid a lot of the crowding that will happen. I know my dad and mom went to Norway and they went to a specific hike where I can't remember the name of it, but you can hike to the point of this rock and it looks like you're kind of falling off the rock, but actually it's not as scary as it is. And they said that the wait was like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours long. I mean, it's a picture, right? At the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, is this really what we're spending our time while we're traveling with, getting one picture that's going to live for 24 hours? And I think we just have to ask ourselves on a deeper level why we want to go places. And hopefully that will also help with a lot of the over tourism that we're seeing in specific destinations. And that's what I got for you, right? As we close out this year, pieces of travel advice that you might not want to take for yourself. You might want to look at it from a different perspective and really travel on your own terms. So we're going to go over it really quickly. Number one, don't be a tourist. And I say, go be a tourist. Go to the places you want to go to, but do it mindfully and do it intentionally. Number two, travel in off seasons. I'm going to say, travel whenever the hell you can. Number three, travel insurance is a scam. I say, absolutely not. It is a peace of mind. It is a security blanket. It is what you are going to wish that you had should something happen. Number four, you can book it yourself. You don't need an advisor. And yeah, that's true. You can book it yourself. You don't need an advisor. But do you want to book it all for yourself? Do you want to spend all that time? Are you an expert in Cambodian travel? Probably not. Work with a travel advisor to give you the trip of a lifetime and give you recommendations that you would never see on TripAdvisor. Number five, cruising isn't real travel. All inclusives isn't real travel. I say travel is travel and do whatever you can that makes you feel safe, makes you feel comfortable, and be able to explore the world. Number six, group travel only takes you to touristy places. And as a retreat facilitator myself, as I said, that is absolutely not the case. I mean, sure, I'm sure there's tour buses with 70 people going to a location that might not be as authentic. But if you do your research, you're going to find a group travel outfitter, a group travel partner that's going to bring everything to life for you. And number seven is use Instagram as your itinerary. And as I just mentioned, for a very long time, that is just truly not the case. You need to be very discerning about which advice that you take on Instagram, and you really need to be discerning with yourself why you're going to a location. Is it specifically for a photo, or is it because you want to have a particular experience? And that's all. I hope that this helps you as you start to formulate your plans for 2025. Please reach out to me. I am offering free 2025 travel strategy sessions where we go over your year ahead? Is there a way to sneak in a little bit of travel, perhaps before or after a wedding you're going to? Is there a way that you can sneak on an amazing hike after your son's soccer tournament? Is there a bucket list trip that you're thinking you really want to do, but you don't know how you're going to have the time to plan it? Let's chat. Chat with me, email with me. It's kelly@transformwithtravel.co and email me. Let's have a chat about it. I hope you have a beautiful holiday season and let's keep on exploring.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Transform with Travel podcast. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode of inspiration, adventure, and exploration. If you felt inspired by this episode, please rate and review in whatever streaming app you're listening from. This allows us to spread the word even more and continue to serve up weekly doses of adventure. As always, we'd love if you could share the episode with someone in your life who you think will benefit from this conversation. Thanks so much for listening. This is your reminder to get out there and keep on exploring.